What if the devil we know is only part of the story? In this video, we uncover the devil in disguise, Lucifer in global myths, exploring how cultures across the world have portrayed dark, fallen, or rebellious figures. From trickster gods to fallen angels, these myths challenge what we think we know about evil. Is Lucifer merely a villain, or a misunderstood symbol of rebellion, knowledge, and transformation? Join us as we journey through ancient texts, hidden legends, and spiritual symbolism to discover the many faces of the one called Lucifer. The truth might be more complex and more revealing than you think. Lucifer. The name alone evokes powerful images: a radiant angel cast from heaven, a serpent in Eden, a dark force tempting humanity into ruin. But is this the full story? When we look beyond the narrow lens of Western Christianity and delve into global myths and ancient cultures, a more nuanced and fascinating picture emerges. Around the world, figures similar to Lucifer appear in mythologies as rebels, challengers of authority, and bringers of forbidden knowledge. They are feared, sometimes reviled, yet also strangely revered. Who is this archetype that transcends borders and belief systems? And what does it say about humanity that we keep telling his story? Lucifer, the Western blueprint. To understand Lucifer globally, we must begin with the story most familiar in the West. In Christian tradition, Lucifer is typically identified with Satan, the rebellious angel who tried to usurp God's throne. This belief draws primarily from passages like Isaiah 14 verse 12. How you are fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning. Though the passage originally referred to a Babylonian king, the Latin word Lucifer, meaning light bringer or morning star, became associated with prideful rebellion against God. This image was later amplified by writers like John Milton in Paradise Lost, where Lucifer is portrayed as a tragic antihero who famously declares, "Better to reign in hell than serve in heaven." Over time, this poetic version of Lucifer deeply influenced Western ideas of the devil, a figure of temptation, deception, and cosmic rebellion. The light bringer across cultures. But Lucifer, as light bringer, is not a uniquely Christian idea. In fact, many mythologies feature beings who fall from divine grace or challenge the established order, often bringing enlightenment or danger to humanity. These figures often blur the line between villain and liberator. 1. Prometheus, the fire thief, Greek mythology. Prometheus, a titan, defied Zeus by stealing fire and giving it to mankind. Fire, in this context, symbolizes not just physical warmth, but knowledge, civilization, and empowerment. As punishment, Prometheus was bound to a rock where an eagle ate his liver daily. Prometheus is a classic Luciferian figure, a rebellious being who suffers for giving humans a divine gift. His story raises questions about divine authority, human progress, and the cost of enlightenment. 2. Loki, the trickster, Norse mythology. Loki is another ambiguous figure, both god and antagonist. A shapeshifter and deceiver, Loki sows chaos among the gods, but also helps them with his cunning. Ultimately, he is punished for causing the death of Balder and is bound until Ragnarok, the end of the world. Loki's role as a disruptor mirrors the devil's function in many religions, as a tempter and tester. But like Lucifer, Loki isn't pure evil. He represents change, ambiguity, and the challenge to rigid order. 3. Samhael, the poison of God, Jewish mysticism. In Jewish Kabbalistic tradition, Samhael is a complex angelic figure associated with both death and temptation. Sometimes equated with Satan, Samhael is not inherently evil, but acts as an agent of God's judgment. He is also linked with Lilith, the first wife of Adam in mystical lore, adding further layers to the mythos of rebellion and exile. Samhael is a shadowy figure not unlike Lucifer, who functions as both adversary and necessary force within the divine plan, a cosmic prosecutor rather than a chaotic enemy. The serpent in Eden, a cross-cultural symbol. In the Genesis account, the serpent tempts Eve with the fruit of the tree of knowledge. Traditionally, this serpent is identified with Satan, but the text never names him explicitly. Serpents appear across global mythology as liminal beings, symbols of wisdom, danger, and transformation. In Hinduism, the serpent deity Naga represents both protection and destruction. In Mesoamerican mythology, Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent, brings knowledge and civilization. In African cosmologies, serpents often symbolize the connection between heaven and earth. In this broader context, the serpent is not just a deceiver, it's a symbol of awakening, often tied to forbidden or divine knowledge. Just like Lucifer, the rebellion archetype, why we keep telling this story. Across mythologies, one theme echoes again and again: the rebel who defies divine order and pays the price. Why does this archetype persist? Because it reflects our own inner conflicts. These figures challenge divine or societal authority, often in pursuit of truth, freedom, or power. They become scapegoats for fear, but also icons of human potential. Lucifer, Prometheus, Loki, and others embody our longing to break limits and uncover hidden truths, even at great cost. Their stories ask uncomfortable questions. Is all rebellion evil? Is knowledge dangerous? Is suffering the price of enlightenment? Eastern echoes, the shadow in harmony. While many Eastern philosophies lack a singular devil figure, they still acknowledge forces of opposition and shadow. 1. Mara, the tempter. Buddhism. Mara is the demon who tries to stop Siddhartha Gautama from attaining enlightenment. He represents temptation, fear, and attachment, the forces that bind us to illusion. But Mara is not evil in a Western sense. He is part of the cosmic process, a test to be overcome. This echoes Lucifer's role as tempter, not as an independent evil power, but as part of the spiritual journey. 2. Yin and Yang, balance and duality. Taoism. Rather than divide the world into good versus evil, Taoism sees reality as a dynamic balance of opposites, light and dark, order and chaos. Luciferian archetypes may fit here as necessary disruptors that push the cosmos toward balance. Colonialism and demonization. Many deities or spirits once revered by indigenous cultures were labeled demonic by colonial or missionary forces. This reshaped global perceptions of divine rebellion and turned cultural heroes into devils. For example, African deities like Eshu, a trickster and messenger god, were rebranded as satanic by missionaries, despite his original role in balance and communication with the divine. Mesoamerican gods like Tezcatlipoca, a complex deity of war, night, and sorcery, were similarly recast in demonic roles. This cultural demonization mirrors how Lucifer, once light-bringer, became the Prince of Darkness. Lucifer in modern myth. Today, Lucifer has undergone a renaissance. Pop culture, literature, and modern spirituality have reclaimed him not just as a symbol of evil, but as one of freedom, resistance, and inner light. TV shows like Lucifer depict him as a misunderstood anti-hero. Books, art, and music often portray him as a symbol of rebellion against oppressive power. Even in occult traditions, Lucifer can represent enlightenment, the pursuit of truth, and the refusal to blindly submit. This modern reinterpretation doesn't glorify evil. It questions who gets to define it. The devil's true disguise. Lucifer is more than a villain. He is a mirror that reflects humanity's deepest questions about power, authority, freedom, and the cost of knowledge. In every myth where a figure falls, defies, or enlightens, we see fragments of the Lucifer archetype, sometimes disguised as a god, sometimes as a demon, sometimes as a misunderstood guide. His many faces around the world remind us that myth is not about objective truth, but about meaning. Lucifer's story, far from being just a tale of evil, offers us a map through our own inner chaos, rebellion, and awakening. He is the devil in disguise, but also the rebel in plain sight. Sources of inspiration and comparison across cultures. Isaiah 14 verse 12, biblical text. Paradise Lost by John Milton. Greek mythology, Prometheus. Norse mythology, Loki. Jewish mysticism, Samael and Lilith. Hinduism, Naga. Buddhism, Mara. Yoruba mythology, Eshu. Mesoamerican mythology, Quetzalcoatl, Tezcatlipoca. Taoist philosophy, Yin and Yang. Lucifer, Beyond the Flames. Lucifer, a name drenched in controversy, fear, and legend. For many, he is the ultimate symbol of evil, the fallen angel, the deceiver, the eternal adversary. Yet, beneath the thunder and brimstone, there lies something deeper and far more unsettling. What if the most dangerous thing about Lucifer is not the evil he is accused of, but the questions he forces us to ask? Questions about power, morality, knowledge, freedom, and the nature of truth itself. This is the true power of myth, not to give us comfortable answers, but to stir the soul with uncomfortable questions. And in the figure of Lucifer, myth reaches its most provocative form, a mirror held up to our deepest fears and desires. The myth of Lucifer, from light to shadow. In Latin, Lucifer means light bringer or morning star. Originally, the term referred to Venus, the brightest star in the sky before sunrise. In Isaiah 14, verse 12, it is used to mock a Babylonian king. How you are fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning. Later Christian interpretations saw this as referring to Satan, transforming Lucifer into a name synonymous with the devil. Over time, this light-bringer was recast as the Prince of Darkness, a being of rebellion, pride, and evil. But this transformation is telling. Why would the light-bringer become the villain? Why would the pursuit of knowledge or defiance of authority be framed as sin? These are the very questions Lucifer's myth demands we wrestle with. Question 1. Is knowledge a sin? Lucifer is most famously associated with the temptation in Eden. Though the serpent is not named in Genesis, tradition links him to the fallen angel. His crime? Persuading Eve to eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. You will not surely die. Your eyes will be opened, and you will be like God, knowing good and evil. Genesis 3 verses 4 to 5. This moment has echoed through centuries as the original sin. But at its core, what was Lucifer offering? Not death, but awareness. The ability to discern, to understand, to choose. Is that evil, or is it the foundation of human consciousness? This raises a vital question. Is ignorance obedience, and is knowledge rebellion? What kind of divine plan punishes awakening? Lucifer's myth forces us to examine how power often fears enlightenment. Whether in religion, politics, or society, those in control may prefer obedience over awareness. Lucifer's act, though framed as treachery, could also be seen as the catalyst of free will. Question 2. Who gets to define evil? Lucifer is evil, at least that's what we're told. But who defines what is evil? In many myths across the world, figures who rebel or defy authority are seen not as villains, but as cultural heroes. Prometheus stole fire from the gods and was punished, yet we honor him as a benefactor of humanity. In some versions, Satan functions not as a being of chaos, but as an accuser, a tester, even a necessary force in divine justice. So who decides what's wrong? If Lucifer's rebellion is evil, is that because rebellion itself is bad, or because it challenges a system that demands submission? This question echoes through all societies. When leaders are unjust, when traditions are harmful, when systems oppress, those who resist are labeled dangerous. Myths like Lucifer's allow us to see how labels, like evil, are often tools of control, and they challenge us to look deeper. Question 3. Can rebellion be righteous? Lucifer's sin, in many tellings, is pride. I will ascend to the heavens. I will make myself like the Most High, the King in Isaiah declares. Yet this mirrors something else we are taught: to strive, to improve, to ascend. When does ambition become pride? When does disobedience become righteousness? Religious texts often uphold submission as virtue, but humanity's greatest movements came from rebels. Prophets who spoke against kings, revolutionaries who stood against empires, thinkers who questioned dogma. Is it possible that Lucifer represents this archetype, not as evil incarnate, but as the spirit of inquiry, defiance, and transformation? We see this in modern retellings of Lucifer, where he appears as an antihero, not a monster. His story asks, is it more dangerous to obey blindly or to question boldly? Question 4. Is duality the whole truth? In the Abrahamic traditions, the cosmos is divided into stark binaries: light and dark, good and evil, God and Satan. Lucifer stands as the other half of the binary, a necessary counterpart to God's order. But other systems think differently. In Taoism, the universe is a harmony of opposites, yin and yang. Shadow exists not to oppose light, but to complement it. In Hinduism, gods like Shiva destroy in order to renew. In Buddhism, Mara, the tempter, is not evil in a moral sense, but part of the path to enlightenment. Lucifer's fall may not be a tragedy. It may be a necessity. Myths around the world suggest that without tension, there is no growth. The figure of Lucifer invites us to ask, is evil something real or something relative? Question 5. Are myths literal or mirrors? If we treat Lucifer only as a literal being, horned, winged, cast into hell, we miss the point. Myths are not just about facts, they are about meaning. They are metaphors for the human condition. Lucifer's story is a mirror reflecting our hunger for truth, our fear of authority, our desire to be more than what we are told we must be. To demonize that entirely is to deny a part of ourselves. Myth allows us to explore the shadows of our soul, not to glorify them, but to understand them. Lucifer, in this sense, is not a monster under the bed. He is the question in the dark, the whisper that says, why? Myth as a tool for awakening. Myths, at their best, are not answers. They are invitations. They ask us to consider what lies beneath the surface of religion, history, and culture. They awaken curiosity, challenge dogma, and lead us into deeper self-awareness. Lucifer's myth, so rich in tension, symbolism, and ambiguity, is perhaps the ultimate example of this. He forces us to confront the cost of enlightenment, the price of rebellion, the danger of blind faith, the complexity of morality. This is why myths endure, not because they tell us what to think, but because they help us learn how to think. Lucifer's story survives because it still provokes. The relevance of Lucifer today. In our modern world, the myth of Lucifer is more relevant than ever. In an age of misinformation, censorship, authoritarianism, and spiritual searching, the figure of Lucifer challenges us to think independently. He becomes a symbol, not of evil, but of resistance. A reminder that asking the wrong question can still be the right thing to do. Many are reclaiming the Lucifer archetype, not to worship a devil, but to reclaim the right to question, to seek, to think freely. Artists, philosophers, and spiritual seekers see him not as a villain, but as a symbol of self-liberation. This doesn't mean rejecting morality. It means questioning imposed narratives. It means facing complexity rather than pretending the world is black and white. The devil we know, or the question we fear. Perhaps the greatest danger in Lucifer's myth is not what it says about him, but what it says about us. Do we fear Lucifer, or do we fear the questions he brings? What if knowledge is not sin? What if obedience is not always virtue? What if the villain is just the one who asked, why? Lucifer is not simply the devil in disguise. He is the question in plain sight. And maybe, just maybe, that's what myths were always meant to do. Not to give us answers, but to draw us deeper into the mystery, to challenge us, to awaken us, and in doing so, to make us truly human. References and inspirations. The Bible, Isaiah 14, Genesis 3. John Milton's Paradise Lost. Joseph Campbell's The Power of Myth. Carl Jung's writings on shadow and archetype. Comparative mythology, Greek, Norse, Hindu, Taoist, Buddhist traditions. Modern literature, media, and cultural reinterpretations of Lucifer. The next time you hear the name Lucifer, pause before recoiling. Ask instead, what question is he asking me? Because in the end, the most dangerous myths are not the ones that lie, but the ones that dare to tell the truth we fear. Lucifer's story isn't confined to one name, one culture, or one meaning. Across the world, he appears as rebel, light-bringer, trickster, and fallen one, a symbol both feared and fascinating. As we've seen, the devil in disguise wears many masks, each revealing something deeper about humanity's struggle with power, truth, and the divine. If this journey through global myths challenged your view, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more untold stories. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Who do you think Lucifer really is? Until next time, keep questioning, keep exploring, and never stop seeking the truth beneath the myth.